Hello, lovely people. Let's do a little tattoo tour, shall we? And a little talk through as I've added more of these on. Anyway, my name is Sam. This is Shadow Harvest. And I do a video a day, every single day, for the month of October. Also, in the dabbly nonsense comment box description below, you will find links to my poetry book, currently for pre-order. So, if you would like to grab that, please go down and ebook, Amazon, physical copy pre-orders will be only through Barnes & Noble, but eventually both will have all of the things. So, you know, on actual release date, October 15th is when the book comes out. But anyway, let's continue on to the tattoos, right? What you came here for. If you don't know, I've done several other tattoo videos before in the past. All of my tattoos have some sort of significance and tie in with witchcraft, even though I didn't necessarily know that at the time of getting them. We're gonna start a little bit in chronological order. The very first tattoo I ever got, I was 19 at the time, and it is my great-grandfather's name, Hachik. Still can't say it right, I understand. It is in Armenian, it is behind my ear. Granted, now if you actually know Armenian, you will have read that and go, that's not exactly what it says. I know, don't trust Google Translate. I also find that it is basically a joke. My great-grandfather, that is who that is, he survived the Armenian genocide and continued on to build a huge, amazing family somehow, regardless of the horrors that he has seen in this life. But he was a prankster through and through. He found a lot of joy in life where he fucking could, and he literally, I think since, you know, when you get marched out into a desert to die at like the age of like 9, all fucks fly very quickly about anything else. And so he was constantly pranking things ever since he was young. Just running amok. Didn't give a fuck. My little inner thought process is that 1, don't trust Google Translate, and 2, that is a little him from beyond the grave ancestrally being like, you wanted to get a tattoo and my name, I'm gonna have you spell it wrong. That's funny to me. So thank you, Dede. Tis what it is. Congratulations to you, sir, for getting one over on your great-granddaughter. So for me, it's funny how it's like, that's one of my first tattoos, but in my name now, even though it took me so long to even dabble in ancestor work, he is one of the photos of that I did in last Samhain. I did some ancestral work, calling them in, doing some things for them. And he is one of them. He's one of the ancestors I like to work with. I like to think of his stories have been told down to us from my grandfather, his son, for a long time. He is of great importance, and his huge emphasis on staying connected to family, since unfortunately he lost all of his in an extremely tragic manner through the genocide, is extremely important. And so having that little reminder that's always there is really, really great. I've even dabbled with the idea then, because I have that great-grandfather, and I just didn't really know all my other great-grandparents. I either didn't have the chance, or their stories just aren't as told as much. But the great-grandparent I did know very well, her name was Jeanette Trina, and she was one I would go over for cookies when I was very, very small. Like, we had an actual relationship, so I always thought it was funny because that is from my mom's side, is the tattoo I currently have, and to get the other one, that great-grandmother is on my father's side, so it'd be kind of fun to have both their names back here as kind of like a lead-in. So that might be something I get eventually, but that's the first tattoo. Moving on chronologically-ish. And by that I mean we're now moving down to the ankle. Yes, you are getting a foot photo for free. It is what it is. But you currently see a black cat. This was in celebration of Boo Boo just being Boo Boo. And now that she has passed away, it's even something that's closer to my heart. But this tattoo that you are currently seeing is a cover-up. That being said, when I was 20, I thought I was dabbling in different woo things. I was kind of exploring while being in college. And for some reason, for about like 2 months, I thought I was gonna be a Hindu. I was going down the path, I was learning the things, I was researching some books here or there, not thoroughly, mind you. This was purely stupid young person, white, adapting a culture and thinking because she took a couple yoga classes, she like now knows things. And I decided to get a Ganesh tattooed on my ankle near my foot. I then later learned that having anything kind of like on the feet, near the feet, is very disrespectful. It was not a cool move. I had the tattoo for a long time thinking like it's a tattoo, who really cares? And all I could think of is time and time again when people are talking about cultural appropriation and things that people get tattoos of this nature from other cultures that they didn't really research or dabble in at all. Like I very clearly had like no deep connection to the Hindu path or with Indian culture of any way, shape, or form. I realized I was like, I don't ever want to be stopped in the road or like have that moment with someone where they're like, the fuck is a Ganesh on that white bitch's ankle for? Like, what is, didn't want that at all. So I realized, I was like, there's a very easy way to deal with this. Fix it. Put something else over the thing. It was very basic line work, and I was like, you know what I do love? Cats. You know what I love even more? My black cat. The guy did told me, he's like, you didn't have to like totally black it out, but I was like, no, I want this. No freaking way. You can see it type of thing. So that is why now Black Kitty is on the ankle. And I think I got that back when I was like 24, so it was a while. The Ganesh was on my ankle for a while, but I figured since we're down there already, 'tis the ankle. Moving on, the next tattoo that I got is the words on my side, which is actually a quote from a show, again, back when I must have been like 21 yet, so still have not become a pagan witch. Again, I grew up in a New Age household, so like some of these things are kind of like lingering and it kind of feeds into it eventually, but I do kind of laugh that this is the tattoo I decided to get tattooed on me because it is so funny for the journey I end up going on spiritually. And so it is a quote from the show Once Upon a Time, said by the Mad Hatter, who was played by the Sebastian Stan, so the Winter Soldier. Same guy. But he said basically the words is like, everyone wants a magical solution to their problems, but everyone refuses to believe in magic. And I loved that quote so much because, I mean, in the realms of the story, it was very much of like, there's a problem with this world, like you guys, magic does exist and you're just in full denial of it, like you're just not looking at things. And I think for me, that was honestly one of my spiritual comings on lately, is what I love the idea of there was more that we could do. There is magic out there. There are things that we can weave and use and play with in this universe. But also too, I was kind of fighting with that at the time. I had a lot of very militant atheist friends, and that was just something where I felt very quieted about my woo. I would like go on to these, I would take some like these little side classes at these like crystal shops and stuff, or I would dive in to certain conversations with very specific friends, but I would never mention it in front of anyone else. I would hide the things that would reveal anything, like all crystals. You know, if people ask me like, what'd you do that day? And I went to like a cute little slightly occult store. I was like, oh, I just like, you know, went to the bookshop or something. Like I was deep, like just push it all the way down. Mostly because I didn't want to be mocked. And the times that I did have questions about this, or it would be brought up around my close friends at the time, they would mock me about it. They would say like, that's such a ridiculous thing to believe. Oh my God, you haven't grown out of that yet. So I learned, keep it quiet, keep it down. And then that filtered through with how I felt about things. Or I did feel slightly childish or ridiculous, or wondered if was being manipulated. You know, all those questions that you have when you're exposed in college to new realms of thoughts and ideas, and the idea of this like atheist intellectual person who like reads all these very high-minded books and is an amazing writer and will be the next American novelist and all that. These are the types of people I was hanging around. These are the types of groups I wanted to ingratiate myself in. And so woo just didn't seem to be, possibility of exploring that stuff didn't seem to be a part of it. No matter what I did, it was still very much there. So then it took several more years for me to want to get a new tattoo. We go all the way through the rest of college, all the way until I am in grad school now, and I was like, fuck it, I want another one. It has been too long, let's go. So that is the back piece. Now, this is probably ranked up until this point, between this and my ankle tattoo are my most painful tattoos. People say tattoos are painful for a multitude of freaking reasons, right? I got the triquerta. I don't even know if I'm saying the right, triquerta. I always want to add a little roll with it because it seems like it should have that. But it is a Celtic symbol of balance with it, and this mine has a whole bunch of like fun beads and stuff hanging off of it. It is very, very beautiful. This piece, I like just walked in, kind of had it. I wasn't really so much vibing at all with the tattoo shop that I got this from. the pain level of this compared to like my tattoo on my ankle was pretty bad, but I didn't get the full on like kind of like adrenaline shakes or when like the adrenaline wears off when you're getting tattooed. The tattoo, I remember at a certain point like the adrenaline kicked in and that was like fine, but then as like going along the spine, oh, I remember when it was done and it was like he had like maybe 30 minutes left to go, the artist, to like really polish it up, and every single moment I'm sitting there going like, I don't want to come back, but oh my god, this hurts so bad. Right on the spine, if you have a spine tattoo, you know, just no thank you. I've had warring things with that tattoo since I didn't have the great experience getting it tattooed. That shop was interesting, weird. It wasn't the most lovely time getting it. So I had some conflicting emotions about like, do I ever want to get something to cover it up? I don't really like that emotional experience. There's no time getting a tattoo. It seems to be tied to the tattoo itself. But I actually really love the design. It is beautiful. And I think overall it is funny how it's like the idea of like this tangled knot of balance and kind of the intertwining of that is, I think, kind of fun, because balance doesn't mean everything's hunky-dory all great all the time. Balance means shit is tumbly and weird and chaotic, and sometimes that's a part of the whole balance anyway. So I've kind of leaned into that overall with it. Now we're going on to my arm tattoos. Now all of these pain-wise, no, these are nothing. These are very easy to get. Depending if you're a little closer to bone or like the elbow, inner or outer, or near the armpit at times, definitely I think is a little spicier than the rest of the arm area, but these have all healed extremely well and fast. Very little pain. I sat for these with no freaking issue, and great things along with that too, because most of these now on my arms started becoming a kind of meditative spiritual experience with me getting tattooed. So the next chronologically is the back of my arm, cloud raining into the cup. The reason I got this was, one, I kind of like came up with the design because it was the two things. I was in Arizona at the time. I got this by Honest Bob at Golden Rule Tattoo, who is a fantastic tattoo artist. I cannot recommend him enough, and Golden Rule Tattoo is a great place. I also got my K cover up there from a different artist. I don't remember his name though, unfortunately. But great tattoo shop. Most of the people there seem to have amazing work, but those are the only two tattoos I got there at the time while I was in Arizona, and I wanted that tattoo because it was the two things that were keeping me going while being in Arizona. I had just stumbled into witchcraft. It was my first dabbling into the craft, and I had many videos back then about like being disconnected by the weather and like not vibing with your environment, and how do you do, and like where do you find the gratitude. And the two things that kept me going was early morning coffees out in the freaking cold. The only time it was cold was like before the sun came up in Arizona, right? And then monsoon season, that torrential downpours that would happen, the crazy winds and all that. It felt like the energy had like come back into the desert, and I just absolutely adored it. So that's why that was there. And so Honest Bob took my concept a little bit and then redid it with his design and dot work, which I absolutely adored. So his stuff is really, really fantastic, and I love this tattoo. I still get a lot of compliments on it to this very day. I absolutely adore it. It was my first real connection, I think, in with weather and the importance of that stuff, and also started me building up the idea of like elements and this being my witchy sleeve overall, although all my tattoos are kind of witchy in a sense. Then we finally get to Portland, where this is a full-on true meditative experience for me at this point, and I decided to get, because it has now been several years, not only in the craft and developing stuff, but I have realized that like, no, my connection to Persephone is extremely important to me. My deity work, it is really helped me grow and made me realize how this probably will end up being a lifelong path for me with paganism and witchcraft, and especially exploring polytheism and things of this nature. So I decided to get a dedication tattoo for her, which is the one on my inner arm. I wanted this because I wanted it close to my chest. It was something I wanted to be interior. It is me, it is mine. And so I just went to the tattoo artist, who is my main tattoo artist. I absolutely adore her. She's done several of the other pieces on me, which I will get to here shortly. Bex over at Oak and Iris Tattoo Parlor. She's absolutely fantastic. Her stuff is just out of this world amazing. I cannot rave about them enough. And so this, I just basically said, I was like, I want a skull with flowers coming out of the eyes. Otherwise, I don't care what you do. Every time I get like just a little peek of it, because I don't naturally see it on my body all that often unless like I'm raised my arm and my arms aren't that covered. But when I do see it, it always just kind of reminds me of Persephone, little idea of like she's there, she's watching. And getting it was a really great overall experience. Very, very meditative. I was like deep into it. I had like put on a whole like Persephone oil, scrubbed out my body. I was like very much like, this entire thing is gonna be like a ritual for me, and I did a full thing about it afterwards. It's very great overall. I'm trying to think of the next one I got. I think the next one I got, also from Bex at Oak and Iris, is my tarot card. This is the Wheel of Fortune. Absolutely adore it. And I got the tarot card first, and then I recently, as of like 9 months ago? No. Yes-ish. I decided to add on this cuff of foliage all the way around it as well. This kind of started as I was thinking of it being kind of representative of Loki, of the constant change. I was like, okay, one deity got a tattoo, all the other deities get a tattoo. But the more I thought about it, the more I was like going through with everything, I realized more so I wanted the tarot card to kind of just be the Wheel of Fortune, also embodying the seasons. And so I told that over to Bex, who of course did their wonderful work with everything and made it absolutely gorgeous and perfect. With the cycle of the tree and the twisting of the roots and this like mystical smoke that is happening both over here around the skull and kind of tying into here. And then also she did a wonderful job of tying all of this around into the foliage that goes around my arm at a later date, tying it all into one. This is my favorite tarot card, the Wheel of Fortune, the idea that change is uncontrollable. The wheel will turn, you will go up, you will go down, and you just kind of gotta go along for the ride. Then we go on to my other tattoos that I'm going on. So along with the witchcraft theme here, we had Persephone here. I had my water bit, so I was kind of like, okay, so this is earth, death, Persephone's all there. We've got some of the water going down with the monsoon and the coffee, so I needed a little bit of fire. And I was like, okay, my main thing with all of my witchcraft so often is candles. I do a shit ton of candle magic. I enjoy candle magic. If I'm gonna do a spell, 9 times out of 10 there's a candle about it going on somehow. So I had a little my candle holder that I took a photo of, and I sent this to the tattoo artist, which this is this is Annie. Their work is absolutely fantastic. They do a lot of like really like cool antique-y looking things. It kind of looks like an old antique print overall, as you can see. And so there's like a bunch of herbs. I just said like I want a candle that's like dripping with something like kind of like this base with like a shit ton of herbs kind of in the base of it, if that makes sense. They did an amazing job. Oh my god, her shit is absolutely fantastic. And I also get a lot of compliments on this one, and this was great for like my little bit of yes, no, now we got the fire element going. So I've got some earth, I got some water, and then even more earth still a coming is, of course, now we're gonna move on to the mushrooms. This one is actually a bit of flash. This is, I think, the only flash piece I have. Yes, only flash piece I have is the hand with the mushrooms. Part of me going into therapy and exploring some more things is that I have also now dabbled with some psilocybin. Now, if you got some opinions on that, that's cool. Be respectful in the comments. I have found it extremely helpful for me and my mental health overall. So I kind of wanted, this is again another little earth element into the arm and kind of showing how that has helped me and my moods and have them more stable and open up and reconnect to that part of me that could get in that meditative state, which in my younger years was a lot easier to then kind of almost get into this very contented, almost ethereal happiness state, this like exuding of amazing joy that could burst out of me. And while the mushrooms did not trigger that for me, but it did assist with the anxiety, the lifting, the reconnecting with the good things in life when I really couldn't for certain amounts. It just took that little, the little layer off. So I could not be more thankful to that. And so I got some little thing of mushrooms here, and I saw this little piece of flash from the artist that I will tag here. They are amazing as well, and so I absolutely adore it. I think it was actually a little bit of a combo flash piece. I like picked the mushrooms that were on one thing, and then the hand was another piece, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the little bits of it kind of curving around here onto my arm. Then more from the lovely Bex, and kind of I got this all done at once, so it's kind of 2 tattoos I knew I wanted, but first things first is, if you see this little, my most recent stuff is this lovely little raccoon, here, holding up a little raccoon mask to his face. Now, from the start of my craft, at the very beginning, when I was kind of dabbling into things, and I thought of the idea of like finding a spirit and doing a spirit container and working with this spirit of any way, shape, or form, I got a little raccoon skull, and then I bound it in, and it's been very helpful to me over the times. I do not talk about it often on this because it is one of the things of my practice I like to keep a little more closed off and away from things, but it's very important to me in kind of cementing that relationship overall. So I really love the idea of having a little raccoon with the raccoon skull there. Also, I'm sorry, little trash creatures. The more happiness I find, the more I realize that like that relation to like a gremlin, a goblin, a little trash creature that's like, I just go after what I like and what's shiny, and like that what makes me happy. If that doesn't amuse you, I don't really care, I'm gonna go do the thing. A little feral creature like a raccoon is so much my state of mind and things, and so I really absolutely enjoyed him, especially the little paws holding him. That's just so cute. He is just absolutely fantastic and great, and he's mixed in here with a shit ton of foliage. And then overall we have this emblem here. If you were a fan of the TV show Hannibal, you might know where I got the idea of this from. In Hannibal, they say, the TV show, NBC Hannibal, this is actually on a church floor in Sicily. It's actually not. It is actually on the church floor in Rome. He was talking about his mind palaces in the show and how he liked to have, this is like the entryway to it. And I started envisioning like something like this being there in stained glass in a sort of interesting mental temple that I made for myself with Persephone, especially when I was going through really hard mental times. I would, if you've seen my meditations video about my current state with my deities and stuff, another thing that I would do is I have this mental temple that I have constructed for Persephone, and maybe I'll draw it out and kind of show it for you guys at some point. But one of the things is there is an altar with a skull on it, and in behind is this stained glass piece, basically kind of containing something like this. It has the skull, it has the whole idea of reaching out even through death for love, a reminder over to Hades for her, and also for a soul connection for me. I've talked about soulmates and stuff before. Soul bonds are extremely important to me, and so this kind of contains that as well. And so I've kind of like, this just seems like such the symbolism of this, the skeleton reaching out and praying in that way, but kind of like looking away from the hands, is just such an interesting dichotomy to me overall. And so I really loved this weird contradiction mixing in that you inspire somewhat from a really amazing TV show that I adore, mixing in with so many of the concepts along with my dedications to Persephone, and like thinking of her temple and like how I would love to ever construct it in reality if I ever had the money and the means to do such a thing. But anyway, so like that is kind of the building of this tattoo. It is my most recent. I just absolutely adore it, and I think Bex did an amazing job with the foliage and it all blending in with the rest of my arm here. I definitely need to find, I've said before, there's earth, there's fire, there's water. Where is the air element for, you know, all of this nonsense? There's life, there is death, clearly so many bones. But where's the air? And I haven't quite figured out. I'm like, do I add a twister? Do I add some wind, some book pages turning, some dotted something all throughout? I definitely want to add something here. There's a couple of random weird spaces still where I could add things overall. I don't know if I'll go all the way into the armpit. I've heard those absolutely hurt beyond all recognition. But yeah, that is my current tattoo tour. I will be getting, at minimum at least, another tattoo for Amore on my other ankle. I've talked before about another ancestor tattoo over on that side, and who knows, but I'm feeling pretty actually like kind of saturated overall right now. So I don't know when exactly those will be coming, whenever my budget allows, I guess, and when I can find an amazing tattoo artist who has time and space. Getting on books these days, I swear, it's like, how many months out do I have to wait? Tattoo me now, take my money, please. But anyway, what are some wonderful tattoos that you guys have gotten? Dedication tattoos, other witchy inspired tattoos. I would love to see them. They're some of my favorite things to see anyway. So those are my current tattoo tour, and this is Youtober. So there are amazing videos coming in the rest of the month, every single day. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.